one who is driven by a never say die spirit, one who is known to have a firm head on slender shoulders. She began her career at the tender age of 21 as a marketing manager under her father, after whose demise succeeded him as the chairperson of APJ Surendra Park Hotels. She has been conferred with the fourth highest civilian award, Padma Shri, by Government of India in the year 2012. She was nominated for the Economic Times Awards as the Business Person of the Year in the year 2002-2003. She was conferred as the Young Entrepreneur of the Year in 99-2000. The First Lady of Boutique, the force behind Park Hotels. Let's hear it from Priya Paul about achieving entrepreneurial glory.
Namaskara, Thai Hubli. It is truly a pleasure to be addressing you today as part of TiECON 2021. I wish I could have been there in person in Hubli, but in these pandemic times, I'm glad I have this opportunity to be with you, at least virtually. APJ Surendra Group is a family-run business which is over 100 years old. Our interests are in tea, hospitality, shipping, finance and logistics, and education and other smaller investments. We are run by myself, my sister Preeti, and my brother Karan. And I would say that we are generation 3.5 to 4, and building on the legacy of our forefathers. The APJ Surendra Park Hotels Limited is also almost over 50 years old, and with the first hotel starting in 1967 on Calcutta's Park Street, from where we take our name. The second hotel was opened in 1968 in Visakhapatnam, and it was actually Andhra Pradesh's first 5-star hotel. We then added a hotel in New Delhi in 1986-87. Currently, we have 22 hotels under ownership and management across 3 brands: the Park Hotels, the Park Collection, and Zone by the Park. And I'm truly delighted at the place that we are at today in 2020. We have built a wonderful brand with a unique identity, using a very different voice and a unique kind of a positioning strategy, for which I will talk about in a bit. So I'm really proud that my journey, which started when I was 24 as a marketing manager at the Park New Delhi, has reached to where it is. I started working at 24. I did economics in college, and I was very clear as I was growing up that I wanted to be a part of the family business. My family, particularly my mother and my father, were very encouraging, and I knew there was a place for me in the business. I didn't know where I was going to be in terms of which business. Would it be shipping? Would it be steel, which we had at that time, or anything else? I finished graduating in the US, and I came back to start working and exploring what I wanted to do. And my father immediately put me as marketing manager at the age of 22 at the Park New Delhi, which had just about opened. And I knew nothing about hospitality. I think maybe he saw, I don't know, maybe he's seen a fit. He put me in a role where I could learn a lot, and I think that was a very valuable lessons that I learned from 1988 onwards. And the first was like really management by, I think, walking around and asking questions, whether it was from my father or from the other professionals that we had in the team and who I could ask and lean on. And the second lesson, which is very relevant today, and when I look back on it, in 1988, when I joined the hospitality industry, it was none of this kind of a boom industry that it's become in the past 10-15 years. There was very little driving the economy. This was pre-1991 liberalization. So hospitality was a very, very kind of a small part of the industrial landscape in India, and there was really no kind of strong economic drivers. The first day of my business life, the occupancy at this 224 room hotel in Delhi was, I think, about 8 or 9 hotel rooms. So it was a really tough lesson to how to build a business. So, you know, we had this beautiful looking hotel, but there were no customers. So how do you take that from, you know, kind of 8 rooms to it now regularly clocks above 90% occupancy. And having seen that and done that, I think maybe 30 years ago when I saw this current pandemic, I think that gave me a lot of inner strength and maybe calmness that, you know, I've seen that. I know how tough business can be. I know how tough it is to pay bills and your bankers. And I, of course, am an optimist. So I think that businesses can be rebuilt and you really have to work hard, but it's possible. So those are very important lessons from those days. I also had enjoyed working with my father and being guided by him. Unfortunately, he passed away in 1990, and overnight I was, instead of just looking at one hotel, I was looking at 3 hotels, Delhi, Calcutta and Visakhapatnam. So when I looked at this, and you know, this was the portfolio of hotels at that stage, again, it was just the early 90s. And, you know, as a family, this was the business we had, and this is what I was given to run. And I started looking at it in a, let's say, in a very different way. And I was influenced by my travels and things that I was seeing in New York, particularly, when I was seeing that, you know, hotels didn't have to be done in a completely traditional brass and marble kind of interior way. And I think I looked at that, and I looked at the fact that there were very few places for me as a young person in my early 20s to go out and to entertain and to have fun. And so I looked at that landscape and started seeing how I could renovate, reposition and rebuild our hotel company, which was, as I said, just 3 hotels at that time. So started experimenting. My father had started a renovation program at the Park Calcutta, which was by then over 20 years old, and it needed a whole fresh look. And I started working and looking at how I could take design and creativity and contemporary culture, and how I could infuse our hotels with that idea, in not just in the interior design and the spaces, but everything from uniform design to crockery, cutlery, to the whole ambience. I mean, nowadays we call it a kind of a design identity and a design thinking, but that's what we really did, was to look at all the experiences and the touch points of a customer, and including you know, the back office and how the processes worked in terms of for the back of house staff, so to speak. So we wanted our hotels to express themselves with their unique identity, and we also wanted our people to be unique individuals and have expressed their own identity. And that's something that has driven the way the Park hotels in particular have built their unique identity over the past 25 plus years. And I'm very proud of that, and I think our team has a lot of creativity in their DNA, and that manifests itself in a lot of the things that we do. So in the 90s, we really looked at design, culture, events, building outstanding and innovative food and beverage concepts, fun bars, nightlife. And this was something that in the 90s was really quite, I think, revolutionary, because you either had the old-fashioned restaurants that had been there for a long time, but there was nothing new and fresh for younger people to enjoy, and certainly not things that were kind of international quality, and in terms of global trends in food and in beverages, we were able to, and dance and music and events, we were able to bring the Park hotels to life with all those, and create a very unique identity in each city. So I was very clear that I didn't want to do hotels which were just rooms. I wanted to have rooms plus, and have these hotels that were connected to the whole neighborhood and to the city, so that people could enjoy themselves and you know, explore the city through us and meet people, and the hotels would really be hubs in those cities. So building on this, we kind of repositioned both the Park Calcutta, the Park Vishakhapatnam, and also New Delhi, which even though was new, we kind of reinvented it within about 10 years of opening. And with that strength, and then the family felt that this was a great business now that we were in. Hospitality had begun to turn around from the mid-90s, and I think there was a growing understanding of that this is a business that has a very, very bright future. So we as a family decided to invest more in hotels, and we by 1999 and 2000 we bought a property in Bangalore and then one in Chennai, and we converted those. They were both properties that we bought from other developers, and we were able to turn those around and demonstrate what this boutique hotels niche that we were talking about. So and suddenly then we had a national footprint. People understood that what we were doing with design and style and innovation in food and beverages and the space design itself. So it was and I think with that strength we added more properties in Hyderabad, in Navi Mumbai, and we started looking at how we could now start to approach the rest of India. So by about 2006, 2007, we started looking at how we could take the brand forward, and also that time we took private equity in our company to help us aid in our growth. So building on our brand strengths, we knew that there were we could look at management contracts and lease options to grow the brand. We also felt that we needed to get into different markets, and looking at the vast growth potential of India and the growth in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, we felt we needed to create a unique brand for that space and the growing demographic of India in the smaller cities across India. So we created a brand called Zone by the Park, and which is draws on the essence of the park, but yet it's a design conscious as well as a price conscious brand. So this is a brand that we now have about 11 or 12 properties, and we decided to work with on a management contract model or even a lease model, and work with other developers to create this brand that was delivered to a developer at the right price, and then of course to the customer at the right price band for those cities, but yet with a unique park identity, strong on design but easily replicatable, and so that enabling us a faster rollout across the country. So that's a very exciting new development, and as I said, we took private equity at that time and made a plan that by 2020 we would have 20 hotels, and we started moving across in all the brands, the park and Zone by the Park, to slowly reach to this 20 hotel figure. We also added another sub brand, which is the Park Collection, which is really 20 to 40 room truly boutique hotels, which are small, intimate, in unique destinations or have a unique architectural viewpoint. We have 2 very successful hotels in Goa under that brand, and 2 heritage properties right now, one in Serampur north of Calcutta, and a palace in Chettinad in Tamil Nadu, which is under development. And we just recently also taken on lease a palace hotel in Patiala, also to be converted into a luxury heritage hotel. So I'm very excited about that brand, because I think we have very unique properties, and that's what I think people do look for in their travel, especially when they're on leisure. Properties that are unique and which have beauty and have maybe exclusivity from the fact that they're so small. So it's been a very exciting 20 years to get to this stage of the private equity and building out the brands and taking them to all the different cities where people understand our brand and they appreciate the brand that we bring. So building these hotels has been very personally rewarding for me. As I mentioned, I joined the family business not thinking that I would be in hospitality, and I'm here 30 years later. And sometimes kind of life gives you a path that that maybe just works. So I think what's worked for me is that that I enjoy working with people and working with teams, and certainly in the hospitality business, you're constantly working with people, both internally as well as externally. And I enjoy that, and I enjoy bouncing off that creativity with designers, with my team, looking at the processes, looking at the design of things, and hopefully leading to better outcomes. So I enjoy that process, and I enjoy that interaction with people. And somewhere along the way, I have found the kind of the creative side of me, and that's also been a good match for me, and and enabling me to create a very unique identity for the company. And I think that's what drives it, because I think I'm passionate about what I do. I enjoy what I do in terms of the creative process, and bringing that into, and I'm lucky enough to be able to bring it into so many different aspects of hospitality, whether it's food, whether it's design, whether it's art, which I love collecting, or theater, or music and dance. So I think all these things are part of maybe my personality, and which come out through the identity of the hotels. I think what's given me even more satisfaction is that's the type of people that we now have within the company. So it's not just me driving the creative process and the creativity and the ideation. We have unique people and unique brands, and the people that we have in the team drive that. So they, our kind of our byline is anything but ordinary, and that's what our team believes in, and that's what keeps on driving them to innovate and to create and to just be kind of outstanding creators with me. So that, so institutionalize or try and do that with innovation and creativity is something that I think makes our company quite unique. So that's been really rewarding, and so I find that synergy between me and the business is quite exciting. And so we've, as I said, we have 22 hotels. When about a year and a half ago we decided that we were ready to take the company to the next level and fund its further growth and development, and decided last year that we will file for an IPO and move the company towards that direction. And that's the process that we started in 2019. And as I mentioned, we had originally, with our when we took private equity, we said we'd have 20 hotels by 2020. We realized that in 2019 we had 22. So we were very excited about the path and the trajectory of the company, and the way we had outstanding strengths in terms of innovative brands, in terms of some of the highest occupancies in the country in terms for our hotels, and a very solid, profitable business that we were running. So we went on this whole pathway of IPO, and 2020 has turned out to be, of course, quite a difficult year and a completely different, let's say, change of what we originally planned. So in March of this year, when we were in the middle of our road shows, we realized that we had to actually pull back and not move in towards this IPO phase right now, for the reasons that everyone knows. And we had to suddenly pivot from a company that ran 24/7 and was full all the time, with many of our hotels, at least many of our hotels doing above 95% occupancy, almost 99% in some of them, and to become these places that were kind of deserted. And it was quite a tough thing for the teams also, because you're used to running restaurants and bars and a buzzy hotel, and suddenly you've been told to stay at home, and you have no interaction with your customers, you have no interaction with your workplace and things like that. So it was, I think, this whole pivot that everyone had to do in March, April, and kind of take stock, and has been an important a challenge and an important part of every individual's journey in India and globally, as well as everyone's everyone's companies had to have their own stories and the way they've dealt with it, and the journeys that they've had to kind of look at again. So our team, after a few days of kind of securing the properties and seeing what we could do and how to manage, started a program of kind of reimagining, resetting and restarting the company. And so immediately we went into kind of a task force mode in the first 10 days itself of the lockdown, and started pivoting the business, looking at what we could do differently, and how we were reimagining what the business would be during the pandemic, post, and now when we are kind of emerging from tentatively emerging from the pandemic. So I'm very proud that we've I think managed to recreate a lot of our businesses, bring a lot of our customers back to the hotels virtually, as well as everything from food deliveries or taking chefs and bartending to people's homes, to creating series of music concerts which people could party at their home with all our DJs, and having a whole series of aqua sunsets and at home. So we our teams looked at imagining all the touch points and how could we actually deliver the hotel, which is a very tangible, physical, experience to people at their home. So I think there's been some successes, but of course we can't wait for more people to start coming back to the hotels, because the experience is finally in the product and experiencing it yourself. So I think as we now move ahead and come out of the pandemic, and we have many different ways of living and different ways of experiencing and travel and experiencing life, I think hospitality will also continue to respond to that and to see what people want out of their lives. Of course, safety and hygiene is of course the most important thing, and I think it's a good thing going forward. And I think once this settles down, we look forward to having everybody back, even in larger numbers. So it's been a 2020 has been a year of great learning, personally, professionally. Of course, we've had some awful times. We've also had some good times in the year. Personally, I can't wait for 2021 and for this new decade to start. And I hope it will bring happiness and success to everyone.
Thank you so much, Priya Paul. That was an informative talk. We have a couple of questions for you. How did this global pandemic impact the industry and your organization in particular? What unconventional and unprecedented decisions have you taken to deal with this situation?
I think the whole situation has been unprecedented and unconventional. You would have never thought that a hospitality industry could be run remotely and even have work from home in a hospitality business. But we have been doing that, and we've actually seen that there are some functions that actually can be handled remotely, and we don't need to get people coming in all the time. Our hotels have been doing pretty well, and I'm very happy that in October and November we've done occupancies of 65 to 70%. But we are also, because there are less service touch points, we're able to handle them with much less people. So we're also looking at how the business can be kind of re-looked at from a cost structure point of view, examining whether some of those costs are needed at all, how much more can go contactless and people-less. So those are fundamental, I think, changes that are going to happen in our industry, some of them to stay, even beyond the pandemic. But hospitality, in essence, is something about real physical, tangible experiences. It thrives on people interacting and being in a space, whether it's a restaurant room full of people or a bar, or people walking and being in a lobby, or having their functions in banquet halls. So all that will come back, and already has started coming back in a smaller way. And I know that's how we have to engage and see how we can re-engage with people.
Our next question is, how does the future look like? And what are some of the key redefining moments of your business during these testing times?
So as I said, I'm quite the optimistic. So I already see changes in our business. October and November occupancies for us have been quite healthy at 65 to 70%. So even though you hear a lot about growth in resort hotels and our Goa hotels are full, we also see business coming back, corporate as well as staycations, workations in our city hotels. So people are traveling and people are looking to have that normality back in their lives. And so I see that occupancies will slowly start inching forward and getting to some amount of stability by August, September. Room rates will be a little strained, I think, for another year and a half or so, well into 2022. And I think by then we should see a recovery.
Will the hospitality industry lose its hubris after a decade-long growth hangover? What does a more humble hotel industry look like?
Yeah, I think the hospitality has seen lots of ups and downs in the past decade. So whereas there's been strong growth in some markets, I think the other markets have been overdeveloped. I still think building a hotel and putting up a hotel with all the development costs is extremely high, and coupled with the high interest rates, it's not been a very attractive industry for a long time. I think if you are a buyer of hotels at this stage, I think there's some amount of coming down of expectations in hospitality purchase prices, and I think there's a little more realistic pricing that has started to happen already. And I think that's good for the industry. I think the pricing does need to come down and needs to make sense for people to buy into hospitality. Of course, as I said, putting up a hotel still is a very expensive proposition because of the interest rates, land costs, and other development costs, which I hope we will be able to look at in a more aggressive manner. Government of Maharashtra has already done a lot of work in that, and I hope other states will take their example to bring down everything from property tax to giving industry status to the hospitality, and really promoting this industry, which is a sunrise industry, has an ability to employ so many people, and is really a kind of a infrastructure industry that is required as the country develops and has a higher GDP growth. So there is a shift, I think, into more work for home. I personally feel that there will be more of a hybrid kind of situation, definitely for the next 1 year and maybe going on longer. So I think people have certainly seen during the pandemic that they do need more personal space, they want more family space, they want to have a better balance of life, and so far that's always seemed to be a struggle that women have been told that balanced life, but I think men also realize that during this pandemic, and certainly the next generation of people who are coming into the workforce, boys and girls, men and women, are aware of the fact that they want to balance many aspects of their lives and personalities and what they want to do. So I think that's going to have a big say in how, as I said, how we live, how we work, how we travel, and that's already begun to happen for many people. Whether you're questioning, do you need to be in the office 100% of the time? Can't you do office from another place? And I think companies are also giving that flexibility and understanding to their people. So just as I think education will be a hybrid, office work will be a hybrid, so will travel and business work, business and travel for business will also be a kind of a hybrid situation. So I think it's going to be quite exciting as we all respond to these changes. It will require changes in environment, changes in design and planning, architecture, transport. So I think it's going to be very exciting to see how we as a global community respond to this.
Our next question to you is, how will hotel companies that have built an expectation for direct bookings and upfront non-refundable rates adjust to a world where many travelers want flexibility until the last minute?
I think for the next year, we see that this flexibility has to be there. Because it's still an uncertain world, people are still responding to changes, flights being cancelled, plans being changed. Even if there's a vaccine rollout, there are still many other ifs and whys and whens of it. So as a hospitality company, we will continue to provide flexible bookings, refunds, adjustments, and I think that's something that has become the norm right now. As we go forward, we will have to respond to the new scene.
Will there be a renewed interest in short-term rentals? Because people want control over their own space. Or will they want the reliability of a hotel with enough services and hygiene?
So I think even as a hotel, we're seeing short-term rentals in our city hotels. With rooms being used as co-working spaces, also for workations, and as well as companies taking them for small meetings. Because even if people are working from home, you do need spaces to work. We've seen that other companies are also downsizing the places that they've taken on rental. So some of them are moving those requirements to a hotel where they do get full service. Everything from the tea, coffee, and the meals, but yet they can choose the space, amount of space they use, and they can be quite flexible with the spaces. So I think there are quite a few hybrid models happened, and I think it's still in a state of flux before any clear patterns or long-term patterns come out.
Our last question for you is, will virtual education and massive open online courses for hospitality boom as the hospitality sector worldwide needs to quickly train staff in new procedures, or post-recession train up new workers?
So interestingly, the moment we had to close down all our hotels, our corporate HR and training teams, along with APJ Institute of Hospitality, which is located in Navi Mumbai, they immediately worked on doing a whole range of online programs, games, and educational games and learning games and fun things also, to keep all our team members engaged. And we've had in the first, just in the first 5 months, when people had a little more time, we had about 7,000 participants in our courses, and some may have been half an hour, some may have been for a couple of days. So there's been a lot of stuff that's already happening through WhatsApp and through other kind of educational games and training courses. So that was, obviously, because when our teams are also used to working 24/7, they didn't want them to feel kind of idle and not productive. So there was a lot of that reinforcement of skills, teaching new skills, of course, and even online teaching of all the new hygiene norms and the type of things that people had to do in there when they came back to work. So a lot of that happened during this, and I think just as schools might want to expand and look at more hybrid models of online and offline, and I'm talking about kindergarten to class 12 schools, even our hospitality institution is looking at doing a hybrid model of online and offline. And that's something that even from having done this now for a few months, we know that people can actually do these training courses at leisure, at home, and keep on upgrading their skills. They don't have to be tied up to a training classroom in a hotel or restaurant or wherever they are. So I think it's going to be quite exciting.